You've always felt it, haven't you? That strange pull when you look up, a quiet ache behind your ribs, just beneath the heartbeat, as if a part of you remembers something your feet have long forgotten, the weightlessness of dreams, the way the sky calls not with sound, but with stillness, a hush that promises freedom. Flight. You don't need wings to long for it. Even as your body lies still and your breath grows slow, a question floats just behind your thoughts. How do we rise? Not just birds or planes or drifting seeds, but anything. How does the heavy escape the ground? How does the wind, invisible and cold, become a cradle strong enough to carry? Tonight, you are not just falling asleep. You are falling into the sky's oldest secret. Because flight is not magic, not entirely. It's not the stuff of myths or miracles. It's something older than stories and more precise than prayers. It's built on forces you cannot see, but can always feel, like gravity, like breath, like time itself. There are rules here, ancient and exact, and yet, somehow, they feel like poetry. Wings don't rise because they want to, they rise because the air allows them to. Because the shape of a feather or a blade slices just right. Because pressure bends like a bow. Because force and balance make a truce in the quiet tension of lift. But you don't need to know that yet, not fully, not right now. All you need is the feeling, that wonder pressed behind your eyes, that softness in your chest, like something stirring inside you has remembered how to drift. We'll take it slow. We'll drift through skies of old, over feathers and engines, through invisible equations and swirling currents of air. We'll meet the four invisible forces that lift every bird and airplane. We'll explore how wings are shaped like questions, not weapons, how they gently ask the sky for permission, and how the sky sometimes says yes. We'll study the stillness behind movement, the grace behind machines, and the delicate conversations happening between air and object, every second, right above your head. You don't need a textbook tonight. You need the rhythm of understanding, told not as instruction, but as story, because the sky, like your mind, isn't made to be conquered. It's made to be listened to, and if you listen closely, you'll hear what birds have known for millennia, what pilots whisper to the wind, what clouds part to reveal that the physics of flight isn't just about how to rise. It's about how to let go. So breathe in, let the earth fall away behind your thoughts, and get ready to feel the sky. Asterisk, you lie still now, the weight of your day sinking into the mattress, your limbs heavy, your breath slow, but above you, though you may not see it, the sky remembers. It remembers all of us. Every creature that ever dreamed of leaving the ground, every silent leap, every wing unfurled in hope. The sky has held them all. And tonight, it holds your wonder too. Close your eyes, there's a story waiting for you behind the veil of sleep. Not a fairy tale, but something older. A truth written in air, because the longing to fly isn't new. It lives in your bones, in the softness of your shoulder blades, in the way your arms rise in your sleep, as if trying to catch a breeze that no longer visits our kind. Long before engines, long before wings carved from metal, there were eyes looking up, just like yours. Eyes full of questions, hearts full of impossible dreams, and it always begins the same way. A creature watches something lighter than itself rise. A bird, a leaf, a flame. It sees the contradiction, the defiance, and it wonders how you wonder too. Even now, but tonight, we won't start with feathers or formulas, we'll start with silence. The stillness before the first flight, the hush that asks, what if I could leave the ground? Imagine a child in ancient Greece, his name is Daedalus. Or maybe he's only a myth, but the longing in his heart, that part is real. He watches birds, and builds wings from wax and feathers. He dreams of escaping gravity. We tell stories like that because they echo the truth. Humans were never content with the ground. Even in ancient China, bamboo frames lifted into the wind, kites, delicate, curious, whispering to the heavens. They weren't just toys, they were questions. Paper-thin prayers asking the air what was possible. You see, we've always chased the sky, not out of pride, but wonder, and in that wonder lives the first lesson of flight. Before anything rises, it must first imagine rising. The sky is not empty. You may think the sky is space, a great empty blue. But it's not. It's full of air, of pressure, of invisible movement. The sky is a sea you cannot see, and to fly is to swim through it. The air, even when still, presses gently on your skin. It has weight, it has memory, lift, drag, thrust, and weight. The four forces that rule the skies, they're always present, even when you lie still in bed. Even now, they wait. But before we explore those invisible hands, there's something deeper to understand. Flight doesn't begin with motion, it begins with stillness, the stillness of possibility. It's the moment just before the leap, the breath held tight, the quiet calculation your body makes when your heart says go, but gravity whispers no. That tension, that sacred, silent negotiation between dream and law, is the essence of flight, and the sky. The sky never forgets those who dared to ask. Wings without feathers you've seen birds glide. But have you ever felt the air slide across your palm as you reach out of a moving car? That's lift. That's air meeting your shape and responding. Your hand becomes a wing. The tilt of your fingers decides everything, and that's the secret. Wings aren't magic. They're shapes that speak the air's language. Some are curved, like a bird's. Some are angled like a plane's. Some are stretched, thin, like a bat's. But all of them, every wing in history, has asked the same question: will the air carry me if I try? Even the birds don't fly blindly. They feel the pressure in their feathers. They sense the wind in their hollow bones. They adjust with every beat, every breath. You once knew how to do this too. Not in body perhaps, but in spirit. Flight lives in your imagination, and your imagination is part of the same world that gave birds their wings and clouds their drift. You are not separate from the sky. You are shaped by it. The oxygen you breathe is the air that lifts. The atoms in your chest once floated in clouds. The wind outside your window tonight is part of the same rhythm that lets swallows glide and hawks hover. Flight is not foreign. It's home. You may have heard that humans flew for the first time in 1903, when the Wright brothers' engines sputtered to life, and a wooden frame lifted off sand and into air. But that's only part of the story, because before that, first flight, there were centuries of dreaming. Centuries of failure, sketches, crashes, and quiet persistence. The Wright brothers didn't just build a machine. They listened to the wind. They studied birds. They learned from kites and watched leaves fall. They treated the sky not as a foe, but as a teacher. And that is why they flew. Now, as sleep draws near, let the sky begin to rise behind your eyes. Picture yourself on a quiet field. No cities, no clocks, no engines. Just the sound of grass beneath you and wind above you stretch. Your arms, not to reach, but to feel. To feel the shape of the air. To feel whether tonight, just maybe, the sky will remember how to lift you. Because it always does. And as you drift, know this. You've already begun the journey. Not upward, perhaps, but inward, toward the place where gravity ends and wonder begins. Sleep now. And in the hush between breaths, listen closely. You may just hear it. The soft sound of lift beginning. Asterisk, you are lying still, yet the air around you never truly rests. It moves with purpose, even in silence. There are no engines, no flapping wings here in your room, and still something hovers, unseen. It presses against your skin, it fills your lungs, it wraps around your body like water holds a floating leaf. You may not see it, but you are always held by the sky. And tonight, as you drift deeper, you'll begin to sense the hidden hands that shape all flight. Not hands of flesh or feathers, but of force, balance, and quiet mathematics. 4 of them: lift, weight, thrust, drag. 4 invisible dancers in the sky's great performance, each one always there, each one always speaking, and together they decide whether you will rise or remain on the ground. Asterisk, let's begin with lift. Lift is not a push. It is not a shove. It is a difference, a quiet imbalance in the pressure around a wing. Imagine your hand reaching out a car window again. When you tilt it just right, you feel something curious. The air doesn't fight you, it lifts you. This is lift, not because air is magical, but because of how it flows. The shape of a wing or an airfoil is curved on top, flatter on the bottom. As the wing moves forward, the air above it speeds up, and where air speeds up, pressure falls. That's the secret. Faster air, lower pressure. So the wing is gently pulled upward, not by strength, but by cleverness. Lift is the art of asking air to help you rise, and the sky in its kindness says yes. Even now, your own breath contains the molecules that once floated across falcon wings and airplane blades. They know lift, they remember. But for every force that lifts, another holds you down. Weight, the pull of gravity. The invisible anchor dot. It presses you toward earth, always. Not out of malice, but consistency. Gravity is not your enemy, it is your reference point. Without it, flight would mean nothing. Weight is what keeps us grounded in a literal sense, and it's the force that lift must always overcome. Not once, but constantly. Even as birds soar, gravity tugs at every feather, every hollow bone. Even a paper plane, drifting in your room, is falling the entire time, just gently. So remember, this flight is not the absence of falling. It is falling carefully, precisely, beautifully. The push that starts the journey. Now think of thrust, a push, a nudge forward, a signal to the sky that you're ready to try. Birds use their muscles, their powerful chests, and beating wings. Planes use engines, small explosions guiding them through the air. Even your legs, when you leap, create thrust. That first motion, that bold decision to move, that's thrust. It's not enough to want to rise. You must also move forward. Flight needs speed, because only when air flows over wings can lift begin. There's a rhythm here. Thrust creates motion. Motion invites air. Air yields lift. It's a dance. And it all begins with one step forward, and finally drag the hand that says, not so fast. Drag is the resistance of air. It's the quiet friction you feel when you walk into wind. It slows you down. It tests your shape. It questions your path. But drag is not a villain. It's a teacher. It asks, are you shaped well for the journey? Are you streamlined? Are you wasting energy? Even a bird tucks in its wings to reduce drag. Even a jet hums through the air with sharpened angles to slice instead of struggle. Without drag, you'd never stop. You'd never land. You'd never feel the peace of gliding slowly back to earth, so let it stay. Let drag be part of the journey. Lift, wait, thrust. For invisible hands always present, always in motion. To fly they must be in harmony. Lift must balance weight. Thrust must overcome drag. This is not war. This is relationship. Every moment of flight is a quiet agreement, a truce between rising and falling, between motion and stillness. And sometimes, for just a few seconds, everything aligns. A bird flaps once and glides. A plane leans forward and lifts you. Don't need to feel them all tonight. Just know they are there even in your room, even in your breath. The sky does not move randomly. It moves by law, and yet it feels like music. Now imagine, you're not in bed. You're on a glider, silent and light, no engines, no controls. Only the air, the slope of your wings, and the curve of the wind. You begin to move not quickly, but gently. Thrust begins. Air flows over your wings. Lift rises softly. Gravity holds you, but just enough to let you drift. Drag whispers behind you, reminding you not to rush. And for a moment, you are part of the great balance, a quiet passenger of physics, held by the sky. Not flying against nature, but with it. This is the truth behind every soaring bird, every paper airplane, every astronaut's launch. Not a fight, but a conversation, so breathe in, let these forces lull you. Not as theories, but as guardians of flight. And as you slip toward sleep, know this, the air is always ready, the sky is always listening, and those invisible hands, they are always reaching toward you. Asterisk, you may think a wing is something that gives lift. But truly, it's something that asks for it. A wing does not demand the sky to obey. It simply offers a shape, a question, curved and angled just right, and waits for the air to answer. Tonight you'll float with those shapes. You'll feel how the slightest curve, the softest tilt, can whisper to the wind and invite the miracle of flight. Because in truth, wings do not make things fly. They give air a reason to lift, and air always listens. Imagine your hand once again reaching out a car window, palm flat, facing down. It cuts through the air, but tilted slightly, just a little curve upward, and suddenly, you feel it rise. The air presses gently against your palm. This is no accident, this is aerodynamics. This is how shape creates force. Wings are shaped like this, not flat, like a paddle, but curved above, flatter below. This design is called an airfoil. It's not drawn from fantasy. It's drawn from observation, from watching how birds glide, how leaves spin, how air chooses to move. When air rushes across the top of the curved wing, it speeds up. And when air speeds up, it loses pressure, lower pressure above, higher pressure below, and the difference, that's lift born not of power but of patience and precision. A wing is not a blade, it's a whisper. It asks the sky to carry it. And the sky, when the shape is just right, says yes. Long before humans built machines, birds perfected this shape. A swallow's narrow wing, a hawk's broad feather span, a hummingbird's blur, each designed by nature's slow hands to speak the air's language. Feathers aren't there for beauty alone, they are tools. Each contour controls the flow of air, each angle adjusts the balance, even tiny movements. A subtle twist of the wrist, a soft splay of feathers change how air reacts. The bird doesn't force the wind, it reads it, and that's the secret. Flight is not control, it is conversation. And birds, they are fluent. When we began to fly, we didn't invent flight from nothing. We watched, we sketched. We borrowed. Airplane wings echo bird wings. The curve, the tilt, the taper, all carefully calculated to speak to the wind in just the right tone. A commercial jet moves too fast for flapping, but its wings still ask the same question. If I go forward, will you lift me? And the air answers, again and again, thousands of times a day. From giant cargo planes to tiny drones, flight always begins with a well-shaped question. Some wings are long and narrow, built for gliding. Some are short and wide, made for agility. But all are airfoils, all shaped with purpose. Because in flight, form is language. The angle of trust, there's something else. A subtle thing but crucial. It's called the angle of attack. The angle at which the wing meets the oncoming air. Too shallow, and the wing slips through without lift. Too steep, and the air breaks apart, and the wing stalls. But when the angle is just right, air flows smoothly, pressure drops above, lift blossoms beneath. It's a moment of trust, the wing leaning into the wind, not too aggressively, but not passively either, just enough, just right. And that balance between risk and retreat is what makes flight possible. It's not about forcing air to submit. It's about finding harmony, even as you lie still. The air flowing in your room respects the shape of everything it touches. It bends, it adjusts, it listens. That's what wings do. They give the air a path it wants to follow. Now drift with this thought. Your body is still, your breath is slow, but your imagination, it stretches wide. You are a shape in the sky, not just a dreamer, but a design. Imagine your arms are wings, light and flexible, curved just so. You glide through cool air, not because you push, but because your shape belongs here. The air moves around you like water. You feel the currents, the softness of lift beneath your ribs. You don't fall, you don't rise by willpower. You simply fit the wind, and that's the quiet truth behind flight. It's not about domination, it's about belonging. The shape of surrender. Even parachutes ask questions. They don't lift, they slow descent. Their shape spreads the body wide, creating drag, allowing gravity to ease its grip. They too speak to the air, saying, let this be a soft fall. Let the ground welcome me gently. The air responds. The descent is delayed. The landing, tender even. In falling, shape matters. Even in stillness, air listens. So as you drift deeper into night, remember, the sky is not just above you, it is around you. It is in you. You are not separate from it. You are part of the same rhythm, And if ever you feel the weight of the world too much, remember that wings do not carry themselves, they ask. And the sky, patiently, invisibly, always answers, sleep now. Let your thoughts become airfoils. Let your breath curve gently upward, and know, you are already rising. Asterisk, you've seen them in the morning, gliding across a pale sky. A gull floating above rooftops, a sparrow weaving between branches, a hawk suspended as if time itself had paused. You've seen them, but have you ever really felt what it means to fly like a bird? Tonight, as your breathing slows and the room becomes a quiet sky of your own, you'll drift into their world, not just as a watcher, but as one of them, soft and hollow-boned, feathered and focused. An architect of the air, because birds do not conquer flight. They become it, and now, so will you. Asterisk, you may think feathers are for beauty, for display, for color. But to a bird, feathers are more than that. They are tools, they are maps, they are flight itself. Each feather is carefully shaped, curved and layered, light, yet strong. There are primary feathers, the long, narrow ones, at the wingtips used for propulsion and control. There are secondary feathers closer to the body, crafted for lift. And beneath it all, a layer of soft down holds warmth and whispers comfort. Feathers interlock, like puzzle pieces or armor that breathes. They shift with the wind, guiding air. Across the surface of the wing, they're not static. They move. They respond. The slightest flick of a feather can turn a dive into a hover, a fall into a glide, even at rest. A bird's feathers adjust to every breeze, a living interface with the sky. Imagine if your skin could sense the shape of the wind. Birds can they do. You might think birds are fragile, and in a way, they are. But their fragility is strength in disguise. Their bones are hollow, light as air, yet reinforced inside with thin struts. Not brittle, not weak, just efficient. Less weight means less energy to fly. And every gram matters when gravity is always waiting. Even their skulls, their ribs, their legs, all are optimized for one thing: to fly without wasting anything. Birds are miracles of design, each part in perfect service to motion. You, too, are built to move, not for flight perhaps, but for balance, for rhythm, for breath. And when you imagine wings, your body remembers how to feel light. But lightness isn't enough. You need energy, and birds have it in abundance. Their hearts are enormous compared to their size. Their blood flows fast, carrying oxygen quickly, efficiently. Their lungs are different, too. Air moves through them in one direction, not in and out, but forward only. Fresh air constantly flows, so they never breathe the same breath twice. It's like an internal wind, never stopping, always feeding the fire of flight. Even a hummingbird's heart beats over 1,000 times a minute. It is not frantic, it is focused. Every beat is a wingspan, every breath a rise. Birds live fast, not carelessly, but with urgency, as if they know what the sky demands and are always ready to meet it. You've watched them flap the elegant rhythm of it, up and down, up and down. But flapping isn't just vertical. It's a scoop, a sweep, a controlled carving of the air. The downstroke provides lift and thrust, the wing stiff and strong. The upstroke folds slightly, reducing resistance. It's a cycle, like your breath, like the beating of your heart, even. Soaring birds flap less, saving energy for glides, riding thermals, spiraling upward on columns of warm air. No flapping, no sound, just trust. How do birds know where to go? How to migrate thousands of miles? How to return each year to the same tree, the same rooftop, the same corner of sky? Some say it's instinct. But instinct is not simple. It's deep memory, a kind of wisdom carried in the blood. Birds feel the Earth's magnetic field. They read the sun's angle, the stars at night, the scent of rain on distant winds. They remember routes, their wings never traced, inherited maps, drawn not on paper, but in muscle, feather, and time. Even their tail feathers help steer, adjusting angles with each gust. Flight is not just physical, it's sensory. It's intuitive. It's knowing the air like a second skin. Now imagine yourself as one of them, perched at the edge of a branch. The wind brushes your chest, your feathers adjust, your lungs are full, your heart steady, your body light. You leap. Not down but out. Not to fall, but to feel. The wind catches you. Your wings adjust, not by thought, but by knowing. You rise above rooftops, above trees, above thought. You feel the balance of air and motion. You shift a feather, and your path curves gently. You feel your body not as weight, but as message, spoken fluently to the sky. And for a moment you are nothing but motion, nothing but trust. You are flight itself. Now return. Let the feathers fold back in. Let the heart slow. Let the bones soften into stillness. You may not have wings, but you have memory. You have imagination. You have air all around you, ready to listen. So sleep now, and as you rest, know that birds still drift above, soft silhouettes against a silver moon, and maybe, in your dreams, you'll join them, not as a wish, but as a quiet shape moving through the dark with grace. Asterisk, you've flown already tonight. Not in a plane, but in thought, as a bird, as breath, as something lighter than itself. But now, the story shifts. Feathers give way to rivets, hollow bones become frames of steel, and the soft curve of a sparrow's wing is echoed in the rigid span of polished aluminum. This is the chapter of machines, of people who watched birds long enough to learn, of minds that dared to ask, if nature can fly, why not us? Tonight, you'll drift alongside those early dreamers. Feel the hum of engines under your ribs, and witness how machines, heavy, noisy, unnatural things came to borrow the sky. Not steal it, not master it, just borrow it, humbly, carefully, with awe. Long before takeoff, humans stood on cliffs and mountaintops, watching birds vanish into the sky. They built wings of wood and cloth. They jumped, they fell. They got back up. We call them inventors. But truly, they were students. They didn't yet understand lift. They didn't know how air flowed. But they believed, and belief, even when it stumbles, is the first step toward flight. They watched how birds tilted their wings, how air moved faster over curves, how feathers flexed and danced in the wind. These were clues. Nature's equations, written in motion, and with time, those clues became blueprints. The first true flight didn't begin in the clouds. It began in a bicycle shop. Two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, mechanics, tinkerers, observers. They studied not just wings, but balance, control, flow. Their invention wasn't just a plane. It was an understanding. In 1903, at Kitty Hawk, their small wooden aircraft, the flyer lifted into the air for 12 seconds, just 12. But in that moment, everything changed. It was not a leap. It was a beginning, and the wind, the same wind that held birds for eons, accepted their offering. They had built not just a machine, but a question the air could answer. The early planes were fragile. Canvas stretched over wooden frames, wires and pulleys. Engines no more powerful than a lawnmower. They looked like flying skeletons. They wobbled, they stalled, they fell, but still, they flew. Each flight was a risk. Each landing, a small miracle. Pilots sat in open cockpits, face to the wind, feeling every shift in pressure. There were no computers, no sensors, only instinct, math, and courage. And yet they soared, because flight doesn't need perfection, only balance. Only trust. Air doesn't care if wings are made of bone or metal. It only responds to shape. Modern aircraft mimic the airfoil, curved on top, flatter on the bottom. The same principle as the bird's wing, but planes are heavier, so they need more thrust. Engines push them forward, slicing through the sky, pulling air across the wings. Lift rises beneath them, just as it does for the smallest sparrow. Inside, computers calculate airflow, adjust flaps, control pitch. But the laws are the same. The forces never change. Gravity pulls, thrust pushes, drag resists, lift rises, and the sky responds, whether the wings are covered in feathers or riveted with steel. Some machines go further beyond the blue, past the place where birds can breathe. Rockets not lifted by air, but by fire, they roar into space, leaving the sky behind. And yet, they still begin the same way, by overcoming weight, by finding thrust, by trusting balance. From gliders to jets to space shuttles, every flying machine shares one truth: it does not fly alone. It works with the air, with physics, with the same invisible hands that lifted birds for millennia. Machines fly not because they are powerful, but because they listen. Now imagine yourself in an airplane. A quiet hum. A window at your side. You're 30,000 feet above the earth. Mountains look like wrinkles. Cities like spilled glitter. You're moving 500 miles per hour, yet it feels still. The air flows across the wing outside. You watch as the tip gently flexes, no feathers, no pilot flapping wings, just pressure, balance, thrust, and trust. You didn't jump off a cliff, you didn't leap. You asked the sky for a ride, and the sky said yes. It's easy to forget, up here, how unnatural this is. You are a creature of the ground. Your bones are too heavy, your muscles too weak, and yet you fly, because someone, a long time ago, believed the sky might share its gift, and it did. Not fully, not forever, just long enough, just borrowed, just enough to remind us, flight isn't something we own, it's something we're allowed to experience for a moment. And even in machines, the heart of flight remains wonder. Now let the engine noise fade in your mind. Let the frame of metal grow soft. Let the wing dissolve into memory. You are still, you are safe. You are floating on thought alone. Tonight the sky doesn't care what shape you take, feather, rivet, or breath. It holds all who ask. Sleep now. And remember, even heavy things can rise when they understand the air. Asterisk, you've flown with feathers. You've flown with steel. Now let's meet the invisible thing that holds you up. Not a wing, not an engine, but something softer. Something quieter. Air it. presses all around you. Even now, you can't see it. You can't catch it. But it's always there, whispering secrets in every breeze. And tonight, it has something to tell you. A sleepy secret, told long ago by a man named Bernoulli. Asterisk, you're surrounded by air. Even here, in the stillness of your room. It moves without asking. It flows around your fingers. It slips through the tiniest cracks. But air is not just empty. It has pressure, it has speed, it has intention. Like a river you never see, it flows above, around, and beneath you. And when it moves, really moves, something magical begins to happen. That's where Bernoulli comes in. You might think birds are fragile, and in a way, they are. But their fragility is strength in disguise. Their bones are hollow, light as air, yet reinforced inside with thin struts. Not brittle, not weak, just efficient. Less weight means less energy to fly. And every gram matters when gravity is always waiting. Even their skulls, their ribs, their legs, all are optimized for one thing: to fly without wasting anything. Birds are miracles of design, each part in perfect service to motion. You, too, are built to move, not for flight perhaps, but for balance, for rhythm, for breath. And when you imagine wings, your body remembers how to feel light. But lightness isn't enough. You need energy, and birds have it in abundance. Their hearts are enormous compared to their size. Their blood flows fast, carrying oxygen quickly, efficiently. Their lungs are different, too. Air moves through them in one direction, not in and out, but forward only. Fresh air constantly flows, so they never breathe the same breath twice. It's like an internal wind, never stopping, always feeding the fire of flight. Even a hummingbird's heart beats over 1,000 times a minute. It is not frantic, it is focused. Every beat is a wingspan, every breath a rise. Birds live fast, not carelessly, but with urgency, as if they know what the sky demands and are always ready to meet it. You've watched them flap the elegant rhythm of it, up and down, up and down. But flapping isn't just vertical. It's a scoop, a sweep, a controlled carving of the air. The downstroke provides lift and thrust, the wings stiff and strong. The upstroke folds slightly, reducing resistance. It's a cycle, like your breath, like the beating of your heart, even. Soaring birds flap less, saving energy for glides, riding thermals, spiraling upward on columns of warm air. No flapping, no sound, just trust. How do birds know where to go? How to migrate thousands of miles? How to return each year to the same tree, the same rooftop, the same corner of sky? Some say it's instinct. But instinct is not simple. It's deep memory, a kind of wisdom carried in the blood. Birds feel the Earth's magnetic field. They read the sun's angle, the stars at night, the scent of rain on distant winds. They remember routes, their wings never traced, inherited maps, drawn not on paper, but in muscle, feather, and time. Even their tail feathers help steer, adjusting angles with each gust. Flight is not just physical, it's sensory. It's intuitive. It's knowing the air like a second skin. Now imagine yourself as one of them, perched at the edge of a branch. The wind brushes your chest, your feathers adjust, your lungs are full, your heart steady, your body light. You leap. Not down but out. Not to fall, but to feel. The wind catches you. Your wings adjust, not by thought, but by knowing. You rise above rooftops, above trees, above thought. You feel the balance of air and motion. You shift a feather, and your path curves gently. You feel your body not as weight, but as message, spoken fluently to the sky. And for a moment you are nothing but motion, nothing but trust. You are flight itself. Now return. Let the feathers fold back in. Let the heart slow. Let the bones soften into stillness. You may not have wings, but you have memory. You have imagination. You have air all around you, ready to listen. So sleep now, and as you rest, know that birds still drift above, soft silhouettes against a silver moon, and maybe, in your dreams, you'll join them, not as a wish, but as a quiet shape moving through the dark with grace. Asterisk, you've flown already tonight. Not in a plane, but in thought, as a bird, as breath, as something lighter than itself. But now, the story shifts. Feathers give way to rivets. Hollow bones become frames of steel, and the soft curve of a sparrow's wing is echoed in the rigid span of polished aluminum. This is the chapter of machines, of people who watched birds long enough to learn, of minds that dared to ask, if nature can fly, why not us? Tonight, you'll drift alongside those early dreamers, feel the hum of engines under your ribs, and witness how machines, heavy, noisy, unnatural things came to borrow the sky, not steal it, not master it, just borrow it, humbly, carefully, with awe. Long before takeoff, humans stood on cliffs and mountaintops, watching birds vanish into the sky. They built wings of wood and cloth. They jumped, they fell, they got back up. We call them inventors. But truly, they were students. They didn't yet understand lift. They didn't know how air flowed. But they believed, and belief, even when it stumbles, is the first step toward flight. They watched how birds tilted their wings, how air moved faster over curves, how feathers flexed and danced in the wind. These were clues, nature's equations, written in motion, and with time, those clues became blueprints. The first true flight didn't begin in the clouds. It began in a bicycle shop. Two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, mechanics, tinkerers, observers. They studied not just wings, but balance, control, flow. Their invention wasn't just a plane. It was an understanding. In 1903, at Kitty Hawk, their small wooden aircraft, the flyer lifted into the air for 12 seconds, just 12. But in that moment, everything changed. It was not a leap. It was a beginning, and the wind, the same wind that held birds for eons, accepted their offering. They had built not just a machine, but a question the air could answer. The early planes were fragile. Canvas stretched over wooden frames, wires and pulleys, engines no more powerful than a lawnmower. They looked like flying skeletons. They wobbled, they stalled, they fell, but still, they flew. Each flight was a risk. Each landing, a small miracle. Pilots sat in open cockpits, face to the wind, feeling every shift in pressure. There were no computers, no sensors, only instinct, math, and courage. And yet they soared, because flight doesn't need perfection, only balance, only trust. Air doesn't care if wings are made of bone or metal. It only responds to shape. Modern aircraft mimic the airfoil, curved on top, flatter on the bottom. The same principle as the bird's wing, but planes are heavier. so they need more thrust. Engines push them forward, slicing through the sky, pulling air across the wings. Lift rises beneath them, just as it does for the smallest sparrow. Inside, computers calculate airflow, adjust flaps, control pitch. But the laws are the same. The forces never change. Gravity pulls, thrust pushes, drag resists, lift rises, and the sky responds whether the wings are covered in feathers or riveted with steel. Some machines go further beyond the blue, past the place where birds can breathe. Rockets not lifted by air, but by fire, they roar into space, leaving the sky behind, and yet, they still begin the same way, by overcoming weight, by finding thrust, by trusting balance. From gliders to jets to space shuttles, every flying machine shares one truth: it does not fly alone. It works with the air, with physics, with the same invisible hands that lifted birds for millennia. Machines fly not because they are powerful, but because they listen. Now imagine yourself in an airplane. A quiet hum. A window at your side. You're 30,000 feet above the earth. Mountains look like wrinkles. Cities like spilled glitter. You're moving 500 miles per hour, yet it feels still. The air flows across the wing outside. You watch as the tip gently flexes, no feathers, no pilot flapping wings, just pressure, balance, thrust, and trust. You didn't jump off a cliff, you didn't leap. You asked the sky for a ride, and the sky said yes. It's easy to forget, up here, how unnatural this is. You are a creature of the ground. Your bones are too heavy, your muscles too weak, and yet you fly, because someone, a long time ago, believed the sky might share its gift, and it did. Not fully, not forever, just long enough, just borrowed, just enough to remind us, flight isn't something we own, it's something we're allowed to experience for a moment. And even in machines, the heart of flight remains wonder. Now let the engine noise fade in your mind. Let the frame of metal grow soft. Let the wing dissolve into memory. You are still, you are safe. You are floating on thought alone. Tonight the sky doesn't care what shape you take, feather, rivet, or breath. It holds all who ask. Sleep now. And remember, even heavy things can rise when they understand the air. Asterisk, you've flown with feathers. You've flown with steel. Now let's meet the invisible thing that holds you up. Not a wing, not an engine, but something softer. Something quieter. Air it. Presses all around you. Even now, you can't see it. You can't catch it. But it's always there, whispering secrets in every breeze. And tonight, it has something to tell you. A sleepy secret, told long ago by a man named Bernoulli. Asterisk, you're surrounded by air. Even here, in the stillness of your room. It moves without asking. It flows around your fingers. It slips through the tiniest cracks. But air is not just empty. It has pressure, it has speed, it has intention. Like a river you never see, it flows above, around, and beneath you. And when it moves, really moves, something magical begins to happen. That's where Bernoulli comes in. Daniel Bernoulli lived in the 1700s, long before planes, long before even bicycles flew. But he noticed something strange. The faster air moves, the less pressure it puts on what it touches. It was like air when rushing became too busy to press down, like it had somewhere to be, and couldn't stop to weigh you down. This became known as Bernoulli's principle. It's not loud. It's not flashy, but it's what lifts birds, what lifts planes, what lifts you when you close your eyes and imagine rising. Look at a bird's wing, or a plane's. The top is curved, the bottom is flatter. When air flows over the wing, it moves faster over the curve and slower underneath. Fast air equals lower pressure. Slow air equals higher pressure. So the air underneath pushes harder, while the air above pulls gently upward. And just like that, the wing rises, not because it flaps, not because it fights, but because it understands the air. It listens to the whispers. Bernoulli described. And the sky opens. You can feel Bernoulli's whisper in simple ways. Blow between two strips of paper. They pull together, hold a spoon under running water. It's drawn into the stream. These are not tricks. They are truths. Air like water changes with speed. It presses less when it hurries. It hugs tighter when it slows. And wings are designed to play with these pressures to become musical instruments of flow. Every takeoff, every glide, is a harmony between air and shape. Flight is not about brute force, it's about imbalance. The sky lifts you only when the air above is lighter than the air below. A difference in pressure so small it slips past your senses is enough to lift tons of metal. You don't need to overpower gravity. You just need to nudge it subtly. Flight is a negotiation, not a war. Bernoulli's whisper says, "Go gently, and I will help." Picture him, Bernoulli in a candlelit study, watching water swirl in glass tubes, scribbling notes by hand. No engines, just equations, and a deep patience with the invisible. He didn't fly, but he gave flight its logic, its rhythm, its breath. His principle became a lullaby for engineers, a poem they could build into wings. Even today, every aircraft, from gliders to rockets, hums with his discovery. A quiet voice inside roaring engines. Now, breathe deeply. Feel the air press gently against your skin. It's not heavy. It's just there, supporting you, surrounding you. If you were falling, it would try to catch you. Not always fast enough, but always trying. Air wants to lift. It just needs a shape, a wing, a curve, a listener. So tonight, as you lie still, you can imagine a shape around you, not of metal, not of feathers, but of understanding. Let yourself become the wing. Let the pressure shift. Let the air hold you, because it will. It always has. Just like Bernoulli said, your thoughts have wings now. They are shaped to rise. But instead of lifting, let them drift. Let the whisper of air slow you. Let it balance you gently, like a feather turning in slow descent. Sleep is not falling, it's gliding. Let the higher pressure carry you. Let the lower pressure pull away your worries. You are floating on a whisper, on soft physics, on Bernoulli's breath, and somewhere, even now, the sky is lifting something heavy, with nothing but air. Sleep, winged one. Tomorrow will rise again. You cannot see the wind, but you can see its work. A tree bent softly to the east, a flag fluttering like a heartbeat. Clouds pulled into long pale streaks across the sky. The wind is not a thing. It is the motion of a thing, a breath, a hush, an invisible hand shaping the world. Tonight you meet that hand, not to fear it, but to understand how it lifts, how it sculpts, how it whispers its way across the globe. The earth is always spinning, though you don't feel it, but the air feels it. The oceans feel it. The sky dances because of it. Warm air rises at the equator. Cool air sinks at the poles. And between them, a slow circulation begins, a grand loop, an ancient rhythm. Wind is born, not with violence, but with difference. The sun warms one patch of land more than another. That warmth lifts air. Cooler air rushes in to fill the space. And so the wind begins, not with thunder, not with noise, but with imbalance. You've walked through wind. You've heard it sigh through trees. You've seen it push rain sideways. But high above you, the wind becomes something else. It carves the upper layers of the sky. It sculpts the very path planes must follow. These high-altitude winds are called jet streams, rivers of fast-moving air, slicing through the upper sky. They don't howl. They don't knock on windows. But they decide everything: where storms go, where planes fly faster or slower, where a balloon might drift for days. And even now, as you rest in stillness, they rush overhead. Like invisible highways above the world, clouds are the brushstrokes of weather, and wind is the hand that paints them. A puffy cumulus drifts by. You see its shadow crawl along the ground. That movement, it's air in motion, soft as a sigh, but steady. Some clouds gather in spirals, some stretch into fingers of mist, some pile high into thunderheads. All are sculpted by pressure, temperature, and the ceaseless flow of the sky. Even a single gust of wind can reshape a sky, just like a breath can blow a dandelion to pieces. The weather isn't always gentle. Sometimes air moves too fast, pressure drops too quickly, heat rises too sharply, and then storms. But even storms are shaped by the same principles: air rising, air falling, balance disturbed, then restored. A hurricane spins not because the sky is angry, but because the earth is turning, and the air is trying to catch up. A tornado dips not to destroy, but to release the tension between hot and cold, high and low. Even the most violent winds are still just the atmosphere, trying to settle back into stillness, trying to exhale. A pilot reads the sky like a story. She sees the clouds ahead, knows what they mean: a storm brewing. She go above it. A strong headwind. She adjusts the throttle. A tailwind. She arrive early, riding the current like a leaf down a river. Every takeoff is a conversation with weather. Every landing is a negotiation with the wind. Even in the age of GPS and autopilot, flight is still subject to the invisible sculptor. The plane moves, but the air decides how. The sculptor in your sleep now. Imagine the weather as fingers. Not harsh, but curious. They smooth out the clouds above your dreams. They turn leaves beneath your window. They pass over rooftops, across oceans, through mountain passes, touching everything at once. They are ancient. They are always there. And they are not against you. The wind has no enemy. It only flows. Let it pass through your thoughts now. Let it untangle them, like it untangles the mist. If your mind is stormy, know that even storms have centers. Quiet, still hearts. You are in the eye now. Let the wind pass around you. Let the invisible sculptor smooth your breath, soften your heartbeat, and lift you gently into the next moment of rest. Before there were blueprints, before wires, pistons, or rivets, there were feathers and the wish to rise. You have always looked up to the birds, the clouds, the endless ceiling of the sky. and wondered, what if you could stay there? This chapter tells the quiet story of how humans learned to shape the sky, how metal found memory, and wings became real. The earliest flying machines were not built from genius alone. They were borrowed from birds, from butterflies, from the curve of a falcon's wing as it slices through the air. Leonardo da Vinci once watched birds for hours. He filled his notebooks with wing shapes, beating rhythms, glides and dives. He didn't fly, but he imagined. At first, and sometimes, imagination is the first kind of lift. Centuries later, the Wright brothers, two quiet men with no formal degrees, built wings in their bicycle shop. They studied airflow in their wind tunnel. They measured lift and drag like sculptors measuring light. Then came December 17, 1903, a flat beach in North Carolina, the sky cold, the wind steady, and a machine barely more than cloth and wood rose into the air for 12 short seconds. It may seem small now, but for the first time, humanity had touched the sky, not with imagination, but with engineering. A wing is not just a surface. It's a story of air. One side curved, the other flatter. Air rushing over the curved top moves faster, creating lower pressure. Beneath the wing, slower air presses upward. That difference, that imbalance, is lift. It's not magic. It's not mystery. It's motion, shaped by design. This is called the Bernoulli principle, but you don't need to remember the name. Just imagine air being pulled, stretched like silk, and pressure following behind like a curious shadow. Wings don't push up. They create space for air to pull them there over. The years, wings evolved. Cloth gave way to aluminate, wires to hydraulics. Wooden frames became fuselages that could tear through the sky. Still, the shape remained. Always that graceful curve, an echo of a bird's feather. Jet engines added thrust, computers added control. But the core secret remained the same. Flight begins when lift is greater than weight, and lift is shaped by wings that understand the air. Even in fighter jets, even in space shuttles gliding home, you'll still find wings paying respect to the wind. Modern wings are smarter. Some are flexible. Some shift mid-flight, adjusting their shape like birds adjusting feathers. Some even morph with sensors and memory metals that respond to air automatically. The plane reads the sky, and the wings reply, not with words, but with shape. With subtle changes you may never see, but that keep you safe, keep you flying. The future may bring wings grown in labs, printed like leaves, or woven like spider silk, but all of them, no matter how advanced, whisper the same truth. Flight is shaped, not forced. Even now, thousands of machines move through the night sky, each one riding a slipstream of pressure, lifted by invisible arms. Passengers sleep. Pilots watch stars from their cockpits. Engines hum like lullabies. But under it all, there are wings, always wings, quietly balancing air. As you rest now, your breath is a kind of flight. To inhale, the air curves over you. Exhale, the pressure shifts below. You do not have feathers, you do not need metal. But in this moment, your still body floats on a bed of calm. The machine of your mind has wings. And tonight, it drifts gently toward the clouds of dreams, where motion becomes memory, and weight gives way to wonder. Gravity does not shout. It does not claw or chase. It simply waits, a patient pull beneath everything you are. It cradles oceans, holds your feet to the floor, and curves the path of every falling leaf. You may not feel it, but it never forgets you. In this chapter, you explore gravity, not as a threat, but as a partner in the dance of flight. The quiet tug that makes lift mean something, the weight that gives flight. Its story, from the moment you are born, you are held not by arms but by gravity. It is the softest cage, the gentlest anchor. It pulls everything toward everything else. An apple to the earth, a planet to its star, your breath to your lungs, and your body to the bed. You can't see it. You can't turn it off. But you can. Feel its love in the steadiness of walking, in the way rain always falls, and in the way flying must always fight it. Just a little flight is not escape. It is balance. A plane does not ignore gravity. It answers it with lift, rising from wings, with thrust, pushing forward, with drag, the resistance of air, and weight, the ever-present pull down. These four forces are like dancers. They move together, each one adjusting to the other, each one shaping the moment. When lift equals weight, you float. When lift is greater, you rise. And when gravity wins again, you descend. Every flight, no matter how high, is a constant conversation between rising and falling, and gravity always gets the final word. Falling feels like failure, but it is also how we learn to rise. Birds fall before they fly, planes descend to land, and stars pulled by gravity collapse to begin again, as novas, as black holes, as the seeds of new worlds. Gravity shapes galaxies just as it shapes your spine. It molds rivers. It bends time near massive things. Einstein showed that gravity is more than a pull. It's the way space itself curves. Imagine a trampoline. Place a bowling ball at the center. Now roll a marble near it. The marble curves inward, not because it wants to, but because the surface beneath it bends. That's gravity. A bending of space. A slope where there was once flatness. Even light bends around great masses. Even time slows near gravity's grasp. And yet you sit here, safe curled into your pillow, breathing softly in this curved universe, unaware of all the invisible shapes holding you. When an aircraft lifts from a runway, it doesn't defeat gravity. It negotiates. It says, I will shape my wings. I will craft my speed. I will balance your pull with my rise. And gravity allows it for a while, but every journey upward comes with the promise of return. That's what landing is. Not a failure, but a coming home. The gravity that resists you also welcomes you back. There is peace in that. A kind of trust between the sky and the earth. You fly, but you do not flee. There is gravity in your body, too. Tiny, yes, but real. Every part of you pulls on every other part. Your cells attract. Your organs hold shape because of forces within. Even your heart's beat sends gentle waves through your body, a kind of inner orbit. And in your mind, thoughts gather weight. Some fall, some rise. Ideas drift toward, meaning like comets toward stars. You are not just held by gravity. You are a participant in its dance. Now, in this moment, you can stop flying. You don't need to rise. You don't need to resist. Let gravity cradle you. Let your limbs grow heavy. Let your thoughts descend, softly, like autumn leaves spiraling down through dusk. Gravity is not your enemy. It's your lullaby. It tells you are here, you are safe, you are home. And as you breathe out, your body sinks slightly into the mattress, a sign that you are still tethered to this gentle, turning world. Outside, the stars move because of gravity. Inside, your mind slows for the same reason. Let the weight pull you, let the stillness take over, let your descent into sleep be the most beautiful kind of flight. Asterisk, there is a language spoken in the sky, but not with words, you know. Not with voices you hear. It is made of codes, rhythms, and silent understanding. A whisper between machine and tower, between radar and pilot, between one set of wings and the next. In this chapter, you drift through the invisible architecture of flight, how order rises from air, how silence keeps thousands aloft, and how the sky is not as empty as it seems. You look up on a clear day, and the sky seems wide, blue, and bare, but it is not empty. It is a living map, layered with invisible corridors, invisible highways, marked not by pavement, but by agreement. Every plane that flies follows rules written into the air. Altitude, speed, direction, time. Without this order, flight would become chaos. But because of silent systems, the sky becomes a ballet. A slow-moving symphony where every part knows its role. At the heart of it all are voices.com, clipped, steady, cleared for takeoff. Maintain heading 270, contact tower on 119.5. This is air traffic control, not just a job, but a kind of music. Controllers do not see the sky. They see symbols, dots, headings, numbers moving across screens. But in those patterns, they see risk, they see safety, they see stories, and they guide planes with care, as if every flight carried a child dreaming at the window above your house. A jet passes silently. You don't see it. You don't hear it. But someone does. On radar screens miles away, a tiny blip moves east. A controller tracks it with practiced ease. Above the ocean, far from land where no radar reaches, planes keep their own time. They follow designated tracks, spaced by minutes instead of miles. Trusting the clock more than the eye, satellites whisper coordinates. Transponders broadcast who you are, and GPS keeps every wing from wandering too far. There is no traffic light in the sky. Only trust, only timing, only precision. Modern flight is no longer just metal and fuel, it is software, it is logic. It is layers of protection you never see. Your plane talks constantly to satellites, to towers, to nearby aircraft. It reports its altitude, its heading, its heartbeat. If something drifts out of place, too fast, too low, too close, alerts rise before danger does. And always a human listens. A pilot, a controller. A system trained not to panic, but to respond. Imagine a sky filled with threads. Each plane weaves its path through a tangle of routes. Some rise, some descend, some curve, some hold steady, but none touch, none collide, because each thread is placed with care. Above you, over oceans, through storms, this quiet choreography unfolds day after day. It is not loud, it is not fast, but it is beautiful in its certainty. When you fly, you don't speak to the controller. You don't know their name, they don't know yours, and yet you trust them. You trust the pilots, you trust the instruments. You trust the silence between every transmission. This is not blind faith. It is built faith layered from decades of lessons, failures, improvements, and discipline. The sky may look empty, but it holds centuries of wisdom. Every cleared takeoff is a promise. Every safe landing is a quiet success. Now, close your eyes, let the rhythm of flight carry you. Imagine the quiet hum of the cockpit, the blinking lights, the gentle voices checking and rechecking. You are part of this pattern now, a tiny moment in a long line of movement. No need to control it, no need to guide. Just let your breath align with the slow circling of the stars. The sky is not a mystery. It is a system, one you can trust. And as your thoughts dim, like cabin lights before descent, let yourself fall into the soft language of safety. Before jet engines, before air traffic control, before metal wings and glass cockpits, there was only a dream to rise, to leave the earth behind, to fly. This is the story of how it all began, of how human hands first reached for the sky with trembling wood and cloth, and hope stitched into every seam, long before you were born, long before your grandparents, or theirs. Someone stood beneath the sky and whispered, "What if? What if you could leave the earth, just for a moment? What if you could ride the wind like the hawk above the cliffs?" They watched birds, envied their glide, measured the angles of their wings with wonder. But wonder was not enough. It took courage to take the first step off solid ground. In a quiet workshop in Italy, centuries before the engine, a man named Leonardo da Vinci drew feathers, not with fantasy but precision, lines, angles, curves of wings, muscles of birds, the balance of flight. He designed machines with flapping arms, helical air screws that twisted air, parachutes shaped like tents. But no one built them. Not then. His drawings whispered of what could be, but the world wasn't ready to listen. Still, his dream waited, quietly, patiently, like wind before it rises. Centuries passed, sailors learned to read the wind, inventors began to test its strength. Hot air balloons lifted gently above Paris, not with wings, but with heat. It was 1783. Two brothers, named Montgolfier, sent animals aloft before daring themselves. People gasped. Cries echoed through the square. For the first time, humans floated in the sky. It wasn't flying, not quite, but it was enough to ignite something. The idea no longer belonged to myth. As the 1800s unfolded, dreamers across Europe and America began to build wings. Some flapped like birds, some glided like leaves. Most fell, but the dream never did. There was Otto Lilienthal in Germany, launching from hills, arms outstretched in gliders he built himself. His flights were short, but they were real. He died doing what he loved, falling from the sky while trying to teach it how to hold him. And still, others continued. Each failure a lesson. Each attempt a step. In a small bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, two brothers adjusted gears, balanced frames, and stared often at the birds above. Orville and Wilbur Wright weren't engineers. They weren't rich. They didn't even finish college, but they had something else: patience and belief. They tested wings in wind tunnels they built by hand. They studied every crash, redesigned every curve, until one winter morning in 1903, on the flat sands of Kitty Hawk, their machine rose. For just 12 seconds, but it was enough. For the first time in history, humans had flown, powered, sustained, and controlled the world. Changed in that breath of air. No titanium, no GPS, no touchscreens. The first planes were made of wood, fabric, and string. Engines that sputtered, wings that flexed, wheels that sank into sand, but they had what mattered most: balance, not just physical, but emotional. A balance between fear and trust, between logic and longing. Each bolt, each spar, a whisper of courage. Close your eyes. Imagine you are there, wearing goggles, sitting on an open frame, the wind cutting across your face. You press a lever, the propeller spins, and the world begins to move. Your stomach flutters as the ground shrinks beneath you. You are no longer walking, no longer earthbound. You are flying. The silence is shocking. Just the rush of wind, the ticking of the engine, and your own heart. This is what it felt like to do something no one had ever done. Not all stories of early flight ended well. There were crashes, fires, confusion, mockery. People called them fools. Said man wasn't meant to fly. But every time a plane lifted, no matter how short the journey, the sky grew less distant. The dream thickened from mist to shape, and soon it would grow faster, louder, stronger. But for now, in this chapter, let it stay gentle. Let it be about hope that fluttered before it soared. Tonight, you sleep with the first dreamers, the ones who looked up, then looked inward, and asked themselves how it might feel to leave the world just for a moment. You now fly, because they once failed and refused to stop. As you drift into sleep, imagine their hands smoothing cloth over wing frames, their eyes on the clouds, their thoughts climbing higher than their machines ever could. And know this: everything that soars today was once built by a soul who simply wondered, could I? And tried. There's something humbling in watching a bird fly. Even now, after all our blueprints and jet engines and sky-conquering machines, we still look up at a hawk circling above and feel small, not lesser, but reverent, because birds fly not just with muscle or math, but with memory, with instinct, with grace. You've seen them, haven't you? Wings stretched wide, barely moving, riding the invisible. A machine needs speed, calculations, fuel, but a bird feels its way through the sky. It listens to the wind with its feathers. It turns not by force, but by understanding. This is the sky's final lesson. Nature never forgets how to be beautiful. Your aircraft has wings long, rigid, engineered with precision. But a bird's wing is not one solid shape. It is 1,000 moving parts. It bends, folds, flexes, and feathers fan like fingers, adjusting mid-flight, responding in real time to every gust of air. Even the best aircraft must correct its course with sensors and software. A bird corrects itself by feel, by muscle memory and neural whisper. It has no dashboard, no radar, no co-pilot, and yet it lands on a branch thinner than your finger, in a wind strong enough to shake your breath. Try to replicate that. Try to replicate that. Try to design not just a machine that flies, but a soul that listens to the wind. Inside every bird is a map it never studied. Migratory routes that stretch thousands of miles are etched into their biology. Without a compass, without a fuel gauge, they leave the only home they know and follow stars, scents, magnetic fields, the pull of invisible forces we can barely measure. They do not ask for permission. They do not wait for good weather. They simply go. Your aircraft needs coordinates. It needs radio towers and calculations. But the Arctic tern, weighing less than a sandwich, will circle the globe and return to the same scrap of land it was born on, year after year, using only the sky and its own remembering. How does it do that? We still don't fully know, and maybe we don't need to. A bird's flight is silent. No engines scream, no turbines burn, just the soft push of air under feathers, the whisper of wings slicing the breeze. When an owl moves through the night, it carries its own stillness. With it, a ghost in motion. Its feathers are fringed and shaped in ways that muffle sound before it can be born. Engineers study owl wings now, trying to make our machines quieter, smoother, softer. We reverse engineer silence. But birds never needed to study it. They were born with it. You start to realize. Birds didn't just learn to fly. They became flight itself. Evolution is a slow sculptor. Over millions of years, it has shaped each bird, not just to survive, but to soar. Hollow bones for lightness. Muscles in the right places. Heartbeats that quicken with ascent. Even their lungs are different, designed to absorb more oxygen more efficiently. Through a unidirectional flow, we still marvel at every part of a bird answers to the sky. Every structure, every instinct, every feather is a vote cast in favor of air over earth, and no matter how many airplanes we build, we are still playing catch-up to a sparrow. We've matched the speed of birds. We've outdone their altitude. We've built machines that fly faster, higher, longer. But we've never built a machine that lays an egg, sings a song, folds its wings, and rests in a tree at dusk. We cannot build a robin's pause. We cannot build the rhythm of a crane returning to the same wetland year after year. Some things in flight cannot be measured, only felt, like the way a swallow's arc catches your breath, or how a hummingbird hovers, still as a thought, in mid-air, or how geese rise in V formation, each taking turns with the wind, moving as one dot. No autopilot matches that. Birds remind you that flight isn't just physics, it's trust. They leap before they're sure. Fledglings tumble out of nests on wings, not yet tested, but they trust the air to rise, to lift, to meet them. You too have that in you. You may not have feathers or hollow bones, but your mind knows what it is to soar in thought, in hope, in dream. Every time you imagine something greater than yourself, every time you let go of fear and choose wonder, you take flight. Birds do it with wings. You do it with spirit. And now, as night thickens around you like a warm sky, you lie still and feel your own quiet gravity, not the kind that holds you down, but the kind that reminds you you've already flown in stories, in thought, in breath. You've traveled with feathers and jet streams, with equations and instincts, through history and biology, through silence and speed, and here, at the soft edge of sleep, you understand something deeper. Birds still fly better because they never forgot how to trust the wind, You are not made of feathers. You are not shaped like an arrow or a wing. You do not hum with the pulse of a jet engine. And yet you fly, not with metal, not with feathers, but with something quieter, something older imagination. It lifts you, it carries you through the sky of thought, through currents of memory, through winds of wonder that stir even as you sleep. Tonight, you have drifted alongside birds who hear the Earth's magnetic pole, glided beside aircraft stitched from equations and dreams, and breathed the rare air where silence and science meet. You've traveled with Leonardo's sketches, with hawks on thermal winds, with moonlit wings and turbine song. You've studied flight, not just how it works, but what it means. Because flight isn't just motion, it is freedom. It is release. It is the soft surrender of falling upward into trust. Even now, with your body still, your mind soars, you remember what it feels like to rise, even if you never left the ground. And now, let gravity have you. Let the air grow still. Let your breath slow, like a glider easing to earth after a long, beautiful arc through the sky. You've seen how bees take flight against all odds. You've heard the hush of owls and the roar of rockets. You've learned that flight is not always loud, not always fast. Sometimes, it is just the quiet lift of a dream held gently in the dark. So rest now, sink below the clouds. Let your thoughts settle like feathers after flight. And if tomorrow calls you to rise again, you'll know how. Because something inside you remembers the sky. You were born to wonder. You were born to reach. And somewhere in the deep silence of sleep, you were born to fly.